A shocking event shook the small community of Junction City, Kansas. An armed robbery at the local Sunflower Bank left everyone rattled. It was early afternoon when a man, whose identity remains unknown to this day, walked through the front doors of the bank, armed and dangerous. The bank was moderately busy. A few customers stood in line, while tellers handled transactions behind the counter. According to several witnesses, the man was calm but intense. Wearing a dark hoodie pulled low over his forehead and dark jeans, he moved quickly and with purpose. Without much warning, he brandished a handgun and ordered everyone to hit the ground. "Nobody move and nobody gets hurt," he barked. His voice was steady, almost eerily so. Panic spread to the bank like wildfire. Staff and customers dropped to the floor, too terrified to resist. Sergeant Mark Evans from the Junction City Police Department later told reporters, the way he moved and spoke, it was like he'd rehearsed it. He knew exactly what he was doing. It wasn't impulsive. This guy came in with a plan. The robber demanded that the bank tellers empty their cash drawers into a large, black duffel bag he had brought. He was methodical, checking the counters and ensuring no one tried to trigger an alarm. He even kept a wary eye on the silent security cameras mounted high on the walls. Despite the fear, one brave bank employee managed to discreetly activate a silent alarm under her desk, a move that would set into motion a citywide manhunt. Meanwhile, the robber continued loading cash into his bag. Witnesses say he seemed especially interested in smaller bills, 20s, 10s, and 5s, making it easier for him to carry a larger total without raising suspicion when spending it later. Captain Lisa Turner of the FBI's Kansas City field office, who quickly joined the investigation, remarked, "This was not some random junkie looking for a quick score. This was organized, strategic. He knew enough to avoid larger denominations that might be traceable." After gathering what police later estimated to be nearly $45,000, the man exited the bank calmly, as if he were just another customer finishing his business. No one followed him. No one dared. Within seconds, he disappeared from sight. And just like that, Junction City had become the center of a major FBI-led investigation. Within minutes of the silent alarm being triggered, officers from the Junction City Police Department raced towards Sunflower Bank. The first patrol cars arrived less than 4 minutes after the call went out, but by then, the suspect was long gone. Detective Paul Ramirez, who was among the first responders, later described the scene. You could feel the fear lingering in the air. People were still crouched under desks, some crying. The tellers were shaking, but they tried to be strong. They pointed us immediately to the security cameras. Police quickly secured the perimeter of the bank, interviewed witnesses, and pulled footage from the surveillance system. However, the footage revealed a serious problem. The robber had cleverly obscured his face with a scarf and a baseball cap. His build was average, his clothes generic. There were no distinguishing tattoos, no visible scars, nothing that could give investigators an easy lead. Meanwhile, FBI agents from the Kansas City Division were already en route to assist. Captain Lisa Turner again emphasized, given the amount of money stolen and the way the robbery was executed, this immediately crossed into federal jurisdiction. That meant we were dealing with someone far more dangerous than your typical opportunistic thief. Investigators reviewed every second of surveillance footage, frame by frame, hoping for a clue. The robber's posture, his gait, anything. An FBI profiler, Special Agent Daniel Brooks, weighed in. He didn't fidget. He didn't look nervous. He minimized time inside, but didn't rush. That tells us he was confident, possibly experienced. Outside the bank, police canvassed the neighborhood, asking nearby businesses if anyone had seen anything unusual. One employee at a coffee shop across the street recalled seeing a man sitting in an older model gray sedan, maybe a Nissan or a Toyota, parked at the curb shortly before the robbery. But she couldn't be sure it was connected. Another witness mentioned seeing a man ditching a black hoodie and scarf into a dumpster behind a gas station 2 blocks away. When police checked, they found a discarded clothing, just like the witness described. Forensic teams rushed the evidence to the crime lab for testing, hoping the robber had left behind DNA, a hair, a fingerprint, anything that could help crack the case. Despite the quick response, the robber had a solid head start, and Junction City's law enforcement knew the clock was ticking. The first 48 hours are critical. Detective Ramirez stated gravely, "After that, your chances of catching someone drop by half." Across Junction City, people locked their doors a little tighter. Bank customers canceled appointments. Parents double-checked on their children. It wasn't just a robbery anymore. It was a violation of the community's sense of safety. As day turned to night, the investigation shifted into high gear. The discarded clothing found behind the gas station, the black hoodie and scarf, was rushed to the state crime lab. Within hours, preliminary results came back. No usable fingerprints, but several blonde hairs were recovered from inside the hoodie. Captain Lisa Turner from the FBI explained, "It wasn't a golden ticket, but it was something. Every piece of evidence helps us build a story." At the same time, officers worked around the clock, checking local security cameras from businesses along possible escape routes. They finally caught a break. A blurry security video from a car wash captured a gray sedan speeding away from the area less than 2 minutes after robbery. Though the license plate was unreadable, investigators noticed a unique bumper sticker, a faded Kansas State University logo, on the back of the car. Detective Ramirez commented, "It's small details like that, a sticker, a scratch, a dent, that can crack a case wide open." Meanwhile, FBI profilers continued working on a psychological profile of the suspect. Special Agent Brooks described him as likely being in his late 20s to early 40s, methodical, with prior experience either in petty crime or possibly the military. The way he carried himself, it wasn't random. Brooks noted, "It takes either a lot of nerve or a lot of practice to walk into a bank with a gun and pull this off without panicking." News of the robbery spread fast across Junction City and beyond. Local media reported the story constantly, showing images of the bank and the surrounding area. Authorities urged the public to come forward with any tips, no matter how small. And tips started trickling in. One caller claimed to have seen a man matching the suspect description at a nearby truck stop shortly after the robbery, buying a bus ticket. Another swore they recognized a sedan from their apartment complex's parking lot. Detectives scrambled to follow up on each and every lead. Sergeant Evans reflected on the pressure they were under. "You can't afford to miss anything. Every hour that goes by, the trail gets colder. And once these guys get out of town, finding them is like chasing smoke." Tension built across the town. Was the robber still hiding nearby, maybe watching the investigation unfold on the evening news? Or was he already hundreds of miles away, disappearing into the endless highways of America? The stakes had never been higher. While detectives chased leads and the lab analyzed evidence, the FBI decided to widen the net. Special Agent Lisa Turner ordered a bolo, "Be on the lookout," for a gray sedan with a Kansas State bumper sticker, warning law enforcement agencies across the state and surrounding areas to keep their eyes open. Within 24 hours, a highway patrol officer in Salina, about 50 miles away, reported seeing a similar car abandoned at a rest stop. The car, a 2006 Toyota Camry, matched the description perfectly, down to the faded sticker. Captain Turner described the moment they got the call. "It was the kind of moment where your heart skips a beat. Could this finally be our break?" Agents and local police rushed to the scene. The car was locked, but through the windows, they could see what looked like a black duffel bag shoved under the passenger seat. They towed the vehicle to a secure location for a detailed forensic examination. Special Agent Brooks commented, "It's always a balancing act, moving fast enough not to lose the evidence, but slow enough not to contaminate it. You only get one shot." When crime scene investigators opened the car, they hit the jackpot. Inside the duffel bag were bundles of cash, many still wrapped in sunflower bank bands. It wasn't all the stolen money, but it was a significant portion, roughly $32,000 in total. Detective Ramirez explained, "He must have taken some with him, maybe for travel expenses, but leaving the majority behind, that was a mistake. That's something amateurs do." The car itself was a treasure trove of clues. Hidden beneath the seat, they found another black hoodie, a burner phone with no SIM card, and several partially burned receipts. one from a bus ticket purchase just hours after the robbery. FBI forensic analysts got to work immediately, pulling fingerprints from the receipts and swabbing the car's surfaces for DNA. Meanwhile, Special Agent Turner made the situation clear to the public. We are asking for any information about a male, possibly traveling by bus, who may have left the Junction City area on or around the afternoon of the robbery. He could be anywhere by now. Authorities believe the suspect might be headed south, possibly toward Oklahoma, Texas, or even further. They coordinated with transit authorities, bus companies, and border patrol units, scanning ticket purchases and security footage from bus terminals across multiple states. Every piece of the puzzle seemed to be coming together, but the suspect still had a head start, and time was not on their side. As investigators dug deeper, the pieces started to fall into place. The fingerprints lifted from a burned bus receipt inside the abandoned sedan came back with a match. The name, Jason Carter, a 34-year-old drifter with a long criminal history, including petty thefts, burglary, and 2 prior armed robbery charges, though both previous cases have been dismissed for lack of evidence. Captain Lisa Turner stated, Jason Carter was not a newcomer to the criminal world. He knew how to slip through the cracks. But this time he left too much behind. Using Carter's last known addresses and associates, the FBI and local law enforcement quickly built a profile of his possible movements. They learned that Carter had no fixed residence, but often used cheap motels and bus stations as his base of operations. Meanwhile, a call came in from a motel clerk in Wichita, Kansas, about 2 hours south of Junction City. She reported a suspicious man checking in late at night, paying cash, and fitting the description circulated in the bolo. The FBI and Wichita police mobilized a tactical team immediately. Sergeant Mark Evans, who had been tracking the case closely, recounted, "We weren't taking any chances. If he was desperate enough to rob a bank, he might be desperate enough to start shooting." Officers surrounded the motel quietly just after 3 a.m. They knocked on the door, announcing themselves. There was a long pause, and then the sound of hurried movement inside. Within seconds, the door was kicked open. Inside, they found Jason Carter attempting to climb out of the bathroom window. He was quickly apprehended without any shots fired. He looked rough, like he hadn't slept in days. Detective Ramirez said, and honestly, he seemed relieved it was over. On him, they found a few $100s in crumpled 20s and 10s, a fake ID, and a bus schedule with cities across the southern United States circled in red ink. In the motel room itself, they found more damning evidence. A receipt for the burner phone found in the abandoned car, and a Kansas State baseball cap matching the one seen on surveillance footage. With Carter in custody, investigators could finally start connecting the dots. But there was one pressing question still hanging over the case. Was Jason Carter acting alone? Or was there someone else out there, someone who helped plan the robbery and was still on the run? After Jason Carter's arrest, the FBI wasted no time. During hours of intense interrogation, Carter initially refused to talk. He demanded a lawyer, sat back in his chair, and stared at the wall in silence. But investigators knew how to be patient. They had enough evidence to charge him. They just needed to find out if someone else had been involved. Special Agent Daniel Brooks reflected. These guys always think they can hold out. But sitting alone in a room, facing federal charges, reality sets in fast. After nearly 8 hours, Carter finally started to crack. He admitted to robbing the bank, but swore he acted alone. There was no getaway driver, no partners. According to him, the robbery had been his last shot at starting a new life, a way to get out of the hole. Detective Ramirez wasn't entirely convinced. Everyone says they acted alone, but the way this was planned, it felt too clean, too smart. Investigators dug deeper into Carter's background. They checked phone records, financials, social media connections, anything that might point to an accomplice. But nothing solid emerged. Captain Lisa Turner explained, "We couldn't afford to assume he was telling the truth, but facts are facts." And the facts didn't show another player. Meanwhile, forensic testing confirmed what they already suspected. The DNA on the hoodie found behind the gas station was a perfect match to Jason Carter. His fingerprints were found on the duffel bag. The receipts in the motel room tied him to the burner phone. And most importantly, the cash recovered from the abandoned sedan matched the serial numbers recorded by Sunflower Bank after robbery. It was a full package. Special Agent Brooks stated. There was no doubt he was our guy. In October 2024, Jason Carter pled guilty to multiple federal charges, including armed bank robbery and interstate flight to avoid prosecution. He was sentenced to 30 years in federal prison without the possibility of parole. Outside the courthouse, Captain Turner addressed the public. Today, justice was served. Thanks to the relentless work of local law enforcement and the FBI, a dangerous criminal is off the streets. The town of Junction City slowly began to breathe easier. The fear that had settled over the community started to lift. Parents felt safer sending their kids to school. Bank employees returned to work, a little shaken but grateful to move forward. Still, Sergeant Mark Evans offered a sobering thought. You never really go back to how things were. Not completely, but you learn, you get stronger, and you watch out for each other. And so, the story of one man's desperate gamble and the small town that refused to let fear win finally came to a close.